We take it way up, higher than NASA on a launching lift. Off into the dark abyss, past the stars where the Martians live. Never will these archers miss their mark. You see the darts we spit, have sharpened tips. We aim for the heart and hit what our target is. Like an arsonist, lighting a match up and then tossing it onto gasoline. We're torching this homie.
Hello everybody, Rezurrxcted here. I hope everyone's having a blessed day, and I want to thank you for taking the time to watch my videos. If you haven't already, please subscribe and help me hit that 100 subscribers goal. Once I hit 100, I'll host a giveaway as a way to say thank you for helping me achieve my goal. I hope you're enjoying the content so far, and if you have anything you'd like to see more of, or you would like to see me start doing on my channel, please feel free to leave some feedback, and I'll do my best to make it happen. And again, thank you for the support thus far, and now let's get to the tips. Alright, so tip number 1, if you're weak, don't peek. One mistake I still see, I'm still seeing quite frequently, is players trying to engage in gunfights without being fully healed and armored up. I know I'm still guilty of doing this sometimes, you know, getting kill greedy, wanting to get in as many kills as I can, but at the end of the day, I want the win. And if you're in a gunfight, regardless of whether you have teammates still alive or not, don't be too prideful or greedy to retreat long enough to heal yourself when possible and get back in action. Tip number 2, know where you're going. Too many times I've started a match where nobody decides to pick a spot to land, and we all end up spread out in so many different locations because we jumped at the last second and didn't know where we were going. In a game where numbers matter, it's always best to pick a spot to land as a full team rather than aimlessly scampering around to find a vehicle to group back up with your team, or trying to not get shot at. If you land with a full team, you're by yourself. You know, it's always best to know where you're going, that way you can be together. Tip number 3, use perks. A lot of players are still neglecting to use very handy perks that can be a huge advantage in any situation. One of my personal favorites that I see getting passed up quite a bit is Paranoia. Paranoia is a fantastic perk that when used cues audio whenever a player is aiming at you. So in situations like running out in the open, trying to get to the circle, or maneuvering from place to place, building to building, this perk shines by letting you know that you've been spotted. So not only does it cue audio, but it will tell you a general direction of where the enemy is scoping in on you from, by getting louder once you face that direction, much like the mechanics of footstep noise. Once you face the direction of the footsteps from the direction the enemy's coming from, it gets louder, or you can hear it in both ears quite clearly. The same concept with Paranoia. Tip number 4, share loot and don't be greedy. Yet again, a huge mistake I still encounter is players being greedy with loot. If you're landing in a spot that doesn't have plenty of loot for the whole team, 9 times out of 10, all your teammates aren't going to have a decent weapon to defend themselves with, which in return only screws yourself because you run the risk of losing a valuable teammate. Before you decide to move to the next location, you know, checking on your teammates to make sure they have more than just a pistol or a shotgun. And if you have 2 assault rifles, give one to the teammate that doesn't have anything to engage enemies at a distance with. Also, if you have ammo that you're not using, it's very possible that one of your teammates needs it. So share the wealth, and you can only help yourself by bettering your chances of winning a gunfight. Tip number 5, communication is key. Probably my biggest pet peeve is the consistent lack of communication that still exists in this game today. Too often players don't make proper call-outs, if they make any at all. Rather than saying, hey, enemy over here, why not call out the number of the direction you see them in? Be observant, take it a step further. If you see an enemy hiding behind a big rock at 245, say something like, hey, I got an enemy over here at 245 behind that big rock. Or, you know, if you see some guy at the top of a mountain that's hiding behind a tree and it's the only tree that's lit up, say, hey, I got a guy here at 300 top of the mountain behind the lit up tree. You know, when you make more of a detailed call out, the less time is spent on your teammates trying to find where you're talking about, and less time you're fighting a battle on your own. Tip number 6, teamwork makes the dream work. So another big pet peeve of mine that is still consistently happening is having that one person on your team that tries to be John Rambo and decides to run off on their own or ends up landing by themselves. Sometimes it's unavoidable, like in situations somebody botches the jump and they end up landing short or something. If you're that guy, stop being that guy. There's strength in numbers, and I would much rather have you alive with the group than have you running off to get 2 kills than die at any stage of the game. Sticking together also means more bullets going downrange at enemies. 2 people shooting at the same person is going to drop someone faster than just one person shooting at them. Tip number 7, anticipation. Try to anticipate where the enemy is going to go. There's a rule in sports called the Wayne Gretzky rule. And basically what it means is don't just see where the enemy is, try to see where they're going. If you can anticipate the direction your enemy is going to go, you can beat them there and catch them off guard. Also, if you can anticipate where you think people might be at, you can approach an area more cautiously by anticipating that they're going to be there, and so they're not much of a surprise when you walk up on a spot and there's already people there, and you're more ready to be able to engage in a gunfight and be successful on the back end of it. Tip number 8, listen, and listen some more. One of the biggest giveaways for where the enemy is the sound of their footsteps. Me personally, one of the best audio settings that I've found is Super Crunch. And I've tried boosted bass, I've tried the headphone setting, I've tried the Treyarch mix, but the one setting that shines above these is Super Crunch. However, the biggest help in hearing footsteps or the direction of enemy fire is having a good headset. Investing in a good headset can really take your game to the next level. Tip number 9, use comfortable sensitivity settings. Too often players try to use high sensitivity settings without being able to control it. I personally run at a medium to medium high sensitivity. It's not the fastest, it's not the slowest, but it's what I'm comfortable with and most successful with. Just because somebody you know uses insane sensitivity settings doesn't mean that that's what it takes to be good. Many pro players actually use lower sensitivity settings, and each have their own advantages, but most of all, being comfortable with the setting that you're using is going to outweigh the importance of what the actual setting can be used for. And number 10, use comfortable weapons. Snipers are a big kicker for this. Sniping in Blackout is an entirely different animal than sniping in multiplayer. I've come across players that could quick scope for days in multiplayer, but couldn't snipe worth a lick in Blackout, and was too prideful to give the sniper to someone who could use it efficiently in Blackout. Though some weapons can be stronger than others, you have to hit the shots for them to be effective. So if you're using the strongest weapon on the game, but can't land shots, then you're not going to be doing any good anyway, and you're better off using something you can comfortably use and land all your shots. So all in all, these are some very basic tips, but there are still quite a few players today still not taking advantage of them and applying them to their game. Whether you've never heard these tips or just needed to hear them again as a refresher, I hope they help you to elevate your game to the next level and get some more wins. If they help you out, please let me know. Feel free to share them with others. Again, thank you for taking the time to watch my video, and I hope you have a great day. Until next time, stay frosty.